through popular dissent. Under Uhuru Kenyatta, the trend of state intimidation, harassment, and murder is creeping back. It is a sad day for Kenya that this kind of democratic reversal can take place a mere 7 years since the promulgation of a new liberal constitution.
Dr. Ndii was questioned and was eventually charged with incitement. The purported article that formed the bulk of his questioning were not genuine, published in a gutter press publication called The Citizen and a website known as Tuko. These articles, placed in the gutter press, do not meet the high standards of Dr. Ndii intellectual analysis of Kenya's political economy. They were clearly authored by persons of dubious intellect and capacity. This is not a legal issue emerging out of an investigation or some infraction of the law. It is political harassment. Dr. David Ndii, in addition to being Kenya's most accomplished economist, is also an advisor to the National Super Alliance, NASA. This is an attack on the most basic freedoms Kenya enjoys, a herald of things to come. The backward and repressive methodology of disappearing people who are considered troublesome to the regime harks back to the 1990s. The same dark arts were deployed in the torture and murder of Chris Musando of the IEBC as recently as August. The police, under the direction of the Jubilee administration, have gone rogue.
Sorry. Apologies for not putting off my phone. I apologize for that. As you all know, it's not the first time in Kenya that we've had enforced disappearances and sometimes the eventual murder of citizens of Kenya who've stood for something, who've stood for justice. So the abduction and the murder of persons like Chris Musando and Willie Kimani rings a bell. It's not new. And many other Kenyans who are also less prominent. We have examples in the coast, we have the examples in Nairobi, in Huruma, Dandora, and other areas. Like Father John Anthony Kaiser, Robert Ouko, and J.M. Kariuki, they were abducted by state security agents, held in Communicado before being tortured and murdered. This arbitrary arrest of Dr. David Ndii, who was held in Communicado for several hours and driven to Nairobi across the Tsavo National Park, epitomizes the torturous nature of the current regime and its intolerance of intellectual freedom, free expression, thought, criticism, and respect for fundamental human rights. Dr. David Ndii is an intellectual leader, not just in this region, but globally. He has advised governments in Kenya and Rwanda, among other countries where he has worked. We are clear that the current effort is aimed at returning a climate of fear into the conduct of national affairs. It is aimed at causing Kenyans to shy away from debating even issues of national interest that affect their lives, that affect our lives. We, the people of Kenya, are resilient, and we will not relent in the struggle to sustain our constitutional rights and freedoms. We will continue to hold the government accountable for its actions, including, and not limited to, corruption, misuse of public funds, repression, police brutality, and stolen elections. In exercise of these civil and political rights guaranteed under the Constitution, and which David Ndii, amongst many others, espouse, Kenyans will not be intimidated by the wrongful exercise of authority exercised by the state in this instance. Our fundamental rights and freedoms as citizens are non-negotiable. And this is a statement of We the People, issued today on the 6th of December in Nairobi.
Thank you. I think we can take a couple of questions. I just wanted to clarify two things that perhaps were not that clear in the statement. First of all, Dr. David Ndii was never arrested formally, as far as we know, and as far as we have heard from him. He was simply picked up and held in comunicado. Secondly, it has come to our attention that an interview that he gave to the Nation Media Group in August is also the subject of inquiry now. So this it's becoming clear where the questioning is going. I just wanted to clarify that for the record. Maybe we can take three questions or so. Yes?
Is David Ndii part of this? Are you going to provide any assistance legal or something like that? Three questions. Secondly, your organization has been among one of those which has been sort of proscribed by the NGO recognition board. This is Layangu, Sautiangu, and We the People. It was described as amorphous and not properly registered. You never sort of reacted to that because you are becoming one of the targets as this organization and as individual NGOs separately. Thirdly, some of the things David Ndii is being accused of have been criticized by others as an incitement to violence, calling for cessation, issues of maybe saying that people with rights for arms if they are subjugated or if they're stopped from commenting on some of these issues. Think of some of these issues that he's being accused of doing.
First of all, David has been a colleague and a partner to many of us for decades. He remains a leading Kenyan intellectual and thought leader. He's also an advisor to NASA. So he's not here because he's not part of Kureyangu, Sautiangu, but he's a very close friend of ours as an intellectual and as a person who is an old friend and somebody we collaborate with on intellectual issues and programmatic ones as well. With regard to institutions being proscribed, we have a pattern now that is becoming established. This latest letter, if it is true, that has been sent to the Nation Media Group, opens up yet another front, this time with an attack on the media, which is not surprising. When civil society is attacked, usually media comes first, but this time it seems to be a front being opened in that regard. But Kureyangu, Sautiangu, Kenya Human Rights Commission, Muhuri, Muslims for Human Rights in Mombasa, AFRICOG, Katiba Institute, IDLO, Inuka. All these organizations have been on the receiving end.
We have been listening in to the civil society.